Welcome to the advanced guide. Before we get started, please re-download the Datapack. There's a small patch that comes with this video. It's going to be on both videos. The updated version adds some developer features that makes it nicer, I guess. So, let's get into the content. I'm going to start with the least technical and then move on to the most technical. So first, our give commands. There's a new set of give commands for the blueprints and basically all crafting items. So I do function give, and you can see like ammo, ammo parts, attachments, basic part, and then blueprints down here. Everything's here, so you can just give yourself whatever you need. Next, the new game rules. We have a couple new game rules for both crafting and the guns. First, we have the gun ones, function, config. We have empty magazines, enable or disable. This basically enables or disables empty magazines after you reload. Next, we have damage indicator. This is basically a red halo around your screen when you take damage. You can turn this on or off. Then we have health boost compatibility. This is if you want to enable the health boost effect. I recommend you keep this off if you can, because if you turn it on, damage does become a little bit buggy. And player headshots. This is basically just, whether or not you can get headshot. Onto the crafting game rules. We have MGS craft, and then we have crafting enable disable, pretty self-explanatory. Force advancements enable or disable. This is basically whether or not the Datapack will force you to have advancements. If you turn this off, then you can turn advancements on and off for individual players using an enadv scoreboard objective that I'll cover later. And hand fill is enabling or disabling hand filling magazines without a smithing table. Next, we have a revamped builder. The builder has been upgraded so that you can do more with the guns that you build. The original functions work the same, so function MGS builder, and I can build a gun. Let's give it an attachment, hollow, and we can just build that gun. And it's going to give me an AK, but let's say I want to give the gun to a certain slot. Or I want to give it a limit, like it can only shoot 100 rounds. And I want to fill the mag halfway, so when you give the gun, it has 15 bullets in the chamber. Then you can do that. So I can do build gun AK, and then let's attach the hollow, and then let's just choose a slot, right? Let's just do main hand. So now it's going to put it in my hand. And then if I want to set the limit, scoreboard players set builder lim b, and then whatever value you want. So this is the ammo limit of 100, and let's say I want to change the fill to 15. And the neat thing about the fill is that it's not limited to the magazine capacity, so you can actually make it like 100,000, and you're going to have an AK with 100,000 in the mag. Now you can see I got 100 rounds, 15 and 85, and it's half filled. Pretty cool. We have the new tags that are exposed to developers. There is no shoot, no damage, dragon gun kill, HS, dead, and respawn. So I'm going to go through each of them individually. No shoot basically prevents me from being able to shoot. So if I give myself 1911 and I do tag s add no shoot, then I will not be able to shoot. You can hear that I'm clicking like mad. Even if I reload, clicking like mad, I can't shoot. No damage is similar. It means you cannot take damage from bullets, but you still will take player damage from swords or RPGs, explosions, right? Dragon gun kill is a tag that a player gets once they kill the dragon, and you can remove it, or otherwise it's just going to stay on the player forever. HS is basically an indicator of whether or not that player was hit by a headshot. So if I headshot someone, they will have the HS tag on them. Dead is basically whether or not a player is dead. This also works if you use do immediate respawn. For 1 tick, the player will have the dead tag, so you can do whatever you need with that dead player. Respawn is similar, except when do immediate respawn is off, it activates for 1 tick when you hit the respawn button. Now we have the scoreboard objectives. First on the list is mob kills. So mob kills is basically the number of mobs you've killed. You're going to see that mob kills goes up by 1 every time I kill a mob. Now, if I summon another Iron Golem, we also have another objective. Mob hits is basically how many hits you have on a mob. So every time I hit the Iron Golem, it's going to go up. We have player kills. Player kills is just the kills objective. Scoreboard, set display, sidebar, kills. And you can see that every time I kill a player, it goes up by 1. As with mob hits, there's also hits. Sidebar hits. This is basically the number of hits I have against a player, so it goes up every time I hit him. This one doesn't exist for mobs, but sidebar headshots. This is the number of headshots I have. So if I shoot him in the foot, nothing. Shoot him in the head, it goes up. We have enadv. Enadv is basically whether or not advancements are enabled for that particular player. So as I mentioned earlier, if you have force advancements on, then it's set to 1 for everybody. But if you have it off, then you can turn advancements off for individual players, and all new players will be disabled by default. The final objective is D. This is the distance that a player was hit by. So if I'm standing right here and hit PETA, it's 38, which is 3.8 blocks. If I move farther back, 15.7. And if I move even farther back, 33.2. So it's accurate to the 10th of a block, and you can use this for whatever kind of stats you want. Next we have a couple more involved stats. First is UID. This is the ID of basically the player or guns. They're all unique. So I do scoreboard, objectives, display sidebar, and UID. And you can see all the IDs that exist in the world. There are a lot. You can see that me as a player, I'm 3,142, and PETA over there is 3,141. And then there's some IDs for that particular player, like their hitbox. They have the same ID as the player themselves. There's also a hit by objective. This is basically the UID of the player that hit you. So scoreboard, set objective, set display, sidebar, and hit by. And you'll see that if I shoot PETA, then for a second, you'll see 3,142 because I hit him. As an example here, I'm going to print a message every time somebody hits PETA, and it's going to say who hit them too. So I do this by doing scoreboard players operation. I want to store the hit by objective onto a temporary variable, and then I execute at every single player. If my ID matches the hit by of PETA, then I say I hit PETA. So if I turn this on, and shoot him. Yeah, you can see that it says the Brad QQ, I hit PETA. Do you remember how I said that you can set the limit and magazine capacity of a new gun with a builder? Well, you can also do that with an existing gun using that UID that I mentioned earlier that is unique between all players and guns. So this gun that I'm holding right now has a UID and it's stored in the gun itself. So if I do /data get GFS selected item .tag.wuid, this is the UID of that gun. So then I can do scoreboard players set at e scores equals UID equals that number. So let's say 3143, and we want to set, let's say, the mag capacity to 100. Then you can see that my gun now has 100. And I can also set the limit. So if I do lim, then I can do, let's say, 1000. And now you can see that gun has a mag of 100 with 1000 limit. Pretty handy. So that's just a small subset of what's possible with these tools. If you have any particular questions, then just hit me up on Discord. I'll put the link in this description, and I can help you with a specific feature. But yeah, let's move on. Next, we have weapon stats. Weapon stats can be changed on the fly in a scoreboard objective called S. You can change anything from reload times to damage to fire rate using the scoreboard objectives. So if I do scoreboard players set M16 damage, S stands for stats, and 1, then the M16 will now do 1 damage per shot. And if I set that to 100, then it'll one-shot pretty much everything. As I said earlier, you can also change the fire rate. So here we have an AK, normal fire rate, and let's up that a little bit. So scoreboard players set AK-47 cooldown, and let's set that S1. And now the AK is crazy fast. You can also change mag capacity. That's just your whatever gun, and then mag S, let's say 100. And now the AK mag capacity is 100. Now, of course, the stats when you hover are not going to update in real time, so if you want to update that, you're going to have to get yourself a new gun. You can also change the stats permanently through the Datapack itself in this file. It's under Data, MGS, Functions, Core, Init, Weapon Stat. This shows the name of all the available stats as well as their values, and you can change them here, and they're going to persist between reloads. If you change them in-game, every time you reload, it's going to reset. So let's go through all the stats. First, we have selector delay. Selector delay is basically how long the game waits to check for a selector change. In other words, the double tap. Next is inactive sessions, max and max guns. These are used basically for the garbage collection. You don't really need to change these values, so I won't explain them here, but you can change them, especially max guns. If you want more guns in your world, then you can set this higher. But I would recommend somewhere less than 250 or so, because at that point it starts to lag. Max ammo limit is the maximum limit you can have on your gun from your builder, or any gun in general. So you can raise this or lower this. I recommend you just keep it the same because you're never going to need that much ammo. Max armor is the maximum armor for a mob. If you increase this, then armor will do less. And if you decrease this value, then armor will do more to protect you. But anything below 20, I don't recommend because the behavior is undetermined. I haven't actually tested it. You don't have to worry about attachments. Down here, these are the weapon stats. So we see we have magazine capacity, reload time, which is in ticks, so that's 3 seconds, reload end, which is basically for sounds. You're going to have to change the sounds if you change the reloads by more than half a second or so, because the sounds will no longer line up. Cooldown, here's a fire rate. Burst, this is basically the number of bullets that are fired per click when you're in full auto or burst mode. In this case it's 3 for the M16, aka same deal, it's 3. When you click once, it fires 3 shots. Damage, self-explanatory. Decay is how much bullet damage decays when it penetrates a block. So for the M16 that's 2, for AKs it's 4. This is just a balance mechanic to give like lower calibers with higher velocities an advantage. And then accuracy, you can adjust these values to your liking. Pretty simple. Finally we have kick. That's basically how much your mouse goes up when you fire. I recommend you keep this below 6, but any value works, honestly. And that's about it for the advanced guide. Pretty low production. I just wanted to get this out of the way and out there. Yeah, hopefully you learned something. Once again, download the new version of the Datapack and resource pack in the description. It's going to be in both videos, but it contains the new builder and a couple other things that basically make developing easier. Well, that's it. See you guys.